Hello, everybody. Welcome to another in the series of the ASFP Sparking Interest podcasts. We've been away for the summer. This is the second in the series for autumn this year, 2024. And there's a real mixed bag of people coming to talk to us. And we're really pleased that we're getting a significant amount of diversity up and down the design and supply chain within our industry, because of course, ASFP members mainly in the main are manufacturers of products, installers of products, testers and certifiers, although our membership has diversified into principal contractors and designers and all sorts of other sectors of the industry. And today, we're really pleased because it's taken us a significant amount of time to get her here, is Lisa Hendricks from Assent Group, who, and this time, and timing, of course, is everything in life, was last year's winner of the coveted title of Woman of the Year Award at the Women in Fire Safety Awards, which, as I speak to you today, is tomorrow of today. So, Lisa, welcome to the ASFP. Welcome to this little corner of Coventry. We're not far from, in fact, we're a stone's throw from Warwick University, where, as I drove in this morning, I could see cars being unloaded of saucepans and kettles and various other things, and parents looking emotional and students looking less emotional. It's taken you a while to get you here. Thank you for coming in, and congratulations on winning the award last year. For those of you who don't know, ASFP sponsors that particular award at Women in Fire Safety, and I think we've done it probably, since the award started. And we're happy to do that because, for those of you who don't know, one of the things the ASFP has been doing is supporting or being the conduit between women's groups within our industry and our membership as part of our improving inclusion or diversity within membership organisations, getting more women into passive fire, getting younger women in terms of young careers, and getting more women on the boards of ASFP member companies, because of course women make up over 50% of our workforce and generally have higher levels of education than their equivalent male colleagues. I read the other day. Write in and tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think you win that argument. Lisa, welcome. In terms of your career path, and we'll talk in a moment about why you won the award, because although you're a full-time working mum, you've had a career for a significant number of years. I know there was you've diversified away from what you originally did, and then beyond that, you've done additional things which we're going to talk about, which led to you winning this award, which falls into the category of support, bringing identifying or encouraging young people to look at your industry, which you're going to tell us about, and diversifying it through another group, which is Women in Building Control. But for everyone's benefit, and I sound like Scylla now, tell us what you do and where you come from.
Well, firstly, Mike, thank you so much, and the ASFP for inviting me here today. And obviously you sponsored the award, which was great. So my journey into building control and fire safety was unexpected because I had a 25-year career in financial services, and I built that successful career across 5 blue chip companies. Then, in a shocking turn of events, myself and my whole team were made redundant. So I then came to a crossroads, and I thought, I don't know what to do now.
Was that during the 2007, 2008?
It was just after that. I think it was around 2012.
Oh, okay.
So around that kind of time.
But the ripples of that financial, I mean, everyone knows it's a crash, but I mean, we have these financial sort of blips so often, don't we?
Yes.
The ripples of it do carry on for a number of years, don't they?
And I really enjoyed my time working in the city and in financial services. And then, as luck would have it, I was at the school gates having a chat, and a local company said to me, would you like to come and work for us one day a week? We know you do business development and sales. And that's really how I started 10 years ago, focusing on business development and sales.
And was that in the industry you're in now? Was it something completely?
So it was in a similar industry, so selling software for banks, that's what I did.
Oh, okay.
And then that particular company, the small company, wanted me to do the same for them. So that's how I came into the construction industry first. And this was back in, around, I don't know, the 2013. So I was working for this cladding company, and at the time, local authorities were giving incentives to homeowners to insulate their property.
Yes.
So I was very involved in helping that business grow. And then by chance, I met a guy called Paul Lemaire from Assent, and he liked what I was doing in business development and sales and wanted to grow his Surrey office. And we had a conversation. He didn't want somebody 5 days a week, which for me was great because I didn't have 5 days a week. He wanted somebody on a part-time basis, so we came to an arrangement. And that's how I came into building control. And I've been with Assent ever since. I think as well, what I realised 10 years ago when I first sort of went across to this industry as well, is that people generally have a need in their business.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you can focus on that and then they meet the person that they think, well, do you know what, I know that person will be able to do it. There's a lot to be said for that. I mean, you know, working with Paul was fantastic. I mean, he's been a huge supporter of me the whole way along. And obviously I was working with him for a long time and I'm still working with him now. But then, of course, in 2017, the Grenfell Tower disaster happened, and which was absolutely horrendous for everybody in the construction industry. And, you know, Paul wanted to have a voice for the building control sector, whether you were in local authority building control or they're called approved inspectors, but now they're called RBCAs. I know we don't like acronyms, but
RBCAs,
registered building control approvers, that's what they're called now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And we're not allowed to use the term approved inspector anymore.
Well, I think you can, but actually the proper term now is RBCA.
And for everyone's benefit, the difference is LABC is your local authority building control. That's your local council.
Correct.
And then an RBKC is effectively an independent organisation.
Yeah, so an RBCA.
RBCA, sorry.
That's okay. I know it is confusing.
The
yeah, there are. Were your approved building control inspectors.
Yeah.
But now we have that level playing field.
Yeah.
So, you know, the local authority building control and the former approved inspectors, we all do the same job.
Of course.
So, you know, Paul was really passionate about that, and he came to me again and said, I need your help. Can you help me knock on doors, get people senior to listen, government to listen about what we're trying to do here from a building control and fire safety perspective. So I was helping him do that too. From 2017, for the next 3 years, as well as doing my day job of business development, you know, Paul and myself were constantly going up to Portcullis House, meeting with various individuals, explaining about the level playing field of building control and that voice. And obviously Dame Judith Hackett wrote the report. And so, you know, with that in mind, I think it then got to 2020 and COVID hit. So everything went remote. Yeah. And, you know, we were like, well, what do we do now? And that's when the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group started. So there was myself, Paul, and one other. And we were on a Teams call. And basically from that, it grew because it was more, well, we want to make sure everyone in building control is involved. which are many, many companies, including local authority building control as well.
Yes.
And so we started then really focusing on, okay, so who do we need to speak to in the industry as well? So the National Fire Chief Council.
NFCC.
NFCC, exactly.
Based at Morton in the Marsh.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic training centre.
Yeah.
So, and you've also got the incoming BSR, the Building Safety Regulator, who are now in place.
Yeah.
So it was having really key organisations on that call, which took time, and being relentless, it happened. And I think the building control sector in particular, you have companies that may be just a one-man band. I mean, Assent is a very large RBCA, with over 50 offices and 300 staff, and we're multidisciplinary, so it's building control, fire engineering, and the new building safety advisory piece as well, and fire safety training. So we're crossing a lot of things here. But it was really the FSBRG, Fire Safety Building Regulation Group, was targeted for the building control and fire safety industry to come together and get that one voice, and have a monthly meeting where it was a safe place to have a conversation. I chaired it, managed the agenda. We then started inviting guest speakers, people that have been on your podcast actually, so like Chandru,
yes,
so Ken Knight, our man, and
they've all been on this sofa.
there you go. So I'm in good company.
You're following in the footsteps of. I tell you, and I think you may know him because I think they do a so Ben Bradford, BB7.
Right. Yep.
So
yep.
Ben's been on the sofa as well.
Okay. I haven't met him. I know BB7.
You would know Ben if you'd met him.
Okay. Very good.
So he leaves an impression on pretty much everybody I think he meets. He's a good guy actually. I've got a lot of time for Ben. And so what have been the tangible outcomes from that group? What do you think are the, to coin a phrase, touch, feel, smell? What are the things you could actually put your hands on and say we've actually produced something that's tangible and usable, or it's created effective change?
Okay, that's a great question. So from when it started in 2020, the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group, which started as, two of us, and grown rapidly because of the Building Safety Act that's now in place, that came out of Dame Judith Hackett's report. So, and people in the industry wanted one place. You've got different associations for fire, for building control, but actually having one place that can come together and give their own updates was really, really useful. What we also did in the early parts was to try and get a lot of engagement. So we did a really fantastic conference in Manchester where over 130 people attended. All the big players in the market were there, from building control and fire safety. The former Chief Inspector of Buildings introduced the conference. We had an update from the Building Safety Regulator, a Q&A. The NFCC were there as well. So it was a really, really fantastic event, which I believe was one of the first times that the private control industry had all come together as one. Wow. So for many, many years, building controllers worked in silos, so on their own.
Yeah.
So you'd have this one-man band or two-man bands right up to your big companies like ours. Doing your day job as well as doing the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group, which took a huge amount of time. The CEO of Assent, Ian Thompson, could see the value in actually being at that forefront and funding that whole time to do that. So I'm very grateful to Ian and the team, to foreseeing that and continuing to support everything that the FSBRG is all about. And getting back to your question where you said, what can you point out? What can you sort of touch, if you like? I suppose one was the fantastic conference that we had. And following that, the BSR then were engaging with me regularly. So they were then on my monthly call, providing an update to industry, which, as the Building Safety Act got royal assent, all the changes that were coming, rather than it being filtered down, it was going through us and other sources as well. So that was really, really good. So they then were approaching me about when they had a conference in London. So the BSR did a really big conference in London and invited the FSBRG to have a stand. So we were alongside all the big associations that were already there. And it's not a paid membership or anything like that.
No.
This is something that Assent are very, very focused on and realise it's good for the sector, because we all have people move around the sector. So what's good for one company is going to be good for everyone if we all collaborate and get together. So that was really excellent and still is. So I'm still having those monthly calls. Neil Hope Collins from the BSR is our speaker every month, which is brilliant. So answers all those questions. And I suppose recognising some of the other bits and bobs that we do, we were keen to try and get building control and fire engineering on the educational agenda. Yeah. So how do you do that? So you mentioned architects a moment ago. Well, if you look at construction as a whole, you've got a huge range of, disciplines that are there, from, the person that's the bricklayer all the way up, everybody that's involved with projects. But if you look at when they study or do their qualifications, how much is actually focused on building control? How much is focused on fire safety? I think as well, what I've been I didn't even realise myself was, when I was asked to, reach out to this person or try and engage with this person. So I would just go off and try and do that. And I was just amazed at how I was able to do that. So I'll give you a good example of that. There's, the Fire Safety College, I think, is one of the 58 recommendations within the report.
Yes.
And I was very lucky through our local MP, who opened a number of doors, to be able to engage and be at a breakfast meeting with Michael Gove. This was last year.
This clearly is pre-election.
Pre-election.
Is your MP still your MP? Have you got a different MP?
I think there's a different MP.
I think there's a lot of different MPs.
Lots of different MPs.
Yeah.
But so I managed to have about a minute and a half with Michael Gove, and the group within the FSBRG, the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group. You've got big leading companies within building control and fire engineering on that group. And, 4 companies got together as a subgroup and then put together an idea about a building safety college. You mentioned the
Mortimer Marsh, the original. It's about 100 years old, I think.
Exactly. So, so I had about a minute and a half to talk to Michael Gove about it. And he was very, very nice and said, I like the sound of that, Lisa. Please, follow up, which I have been doing. Obviously, that's on pause now, and now looking at potentially approaching Labour about the same thing. So I suppose,
that'd be Angela Rayner, wouldn't it? Actually, Angela Rayner, if you're watching this, there's lots of women's groups within construction across all the spectrums that you should get involved with. Because actually, if you really want to understand our industry in your current capacity, you would do yourself a significant favour by talking to some of the more visible people, from Women Talking Fire or Women in Fire Safety, or indeed Lisa here, because it's a very complicated issue that we have to deal with. And we appreciate you're new in the job, by the way, but it's certainly worth reaching out. There you go, Angela. Give us a call.
Very good. Good.
If you're, give us the phrase again, because I can't say. See, I don't want to say approved inspector now because I feel like I'm.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. RBCA.
RBCA. So if you're an RBCA based in, I don't know, Falkirk, it's probably a lonely place if you've not if you haven't got a sort of group to bounce things off.
It is. And actually, that's really important for the sector. And that definitely wasn't there before. I mean, there were, associations and around, but they're reliant on people's goodwill and doing it outside of the day job. So if you're running your own, we'll call it the old approved inspector or the RECA, you're still doing your job.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to also do other things as well. So that's where the FSBRG really did fit in nicely with what was going on. It was also really timely because of the introduction of the Building Safety Act. We were all in the same boat, whether you were in the local authority or private inspectors. We all had to go through the same process. It was really fast as well. So we only had from the 1st of October to try and get as many of our employees through the process, the rigid process. And
Didn't they extend it?
They did extend it. Yeah, they did extend it until July. So
concerned there was going to be a lack of resource to sign stuff off. I think it was going to slow construction industry down significantly.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen for sure is with this new process, which is a fantastic process to have everybody, competent. You've got lots of people that have been doing, say, the building control job for a very long time, and then you have to go through the process of then proving that you're competent, and then you're on a register, and what that means is you would have a building control inspector that was able to do, say, just domestic buildings, and then you'd have other building control inspectors that could do different types of projects.
Yeah.
So more complex, if you like. So that was a process that we've all gone through from October last year. And that's been really, really challenging for companies, particularly if you're a small company, because you're still doing your job and then you still got to go through this process.
The investment involved.
And the investment as well. And actually, I'm a Class 1 RBI. There's another acronym for you, Registered Building Inspector. Because I've been in the sector now for a long time, I decided at the beginning of this year that, the whole business development side of it, thoroughly enjoy that, really enjoy all of that side of stuff. And the FSBRG work that I do, I really enjoy that. But actually the technical side of it, so I'm doing my diploma level 4 in building control and site inspections.
Okay.
I'm probably going to have finished it by the end of this year. I've been boring my teenagers over the summer talking about raft, foundations, cantilever beams, everything, and really getting into the detail of the technical side of it. So I think for me, that's been a real eye-opener as well. And if you had said to me when I was in financial services that I would, at some point be doing a diploma in building control, I just...
It would have been the equivalent of saying you're going to fly to the moon.
Exactly. But it's been, so far it's just been absolutely fantastic. And I think the camaraderie around the sector, regardless of whether it's somebody I work with at Assent or whether it's one of the team that's part of the FSBRG, I know that I can pick up the phone or ask for help. And people are just so willing to say, yes, Lisa, I'll help you. That could be that I'm maybe quite annoying as well and get things done.
Well, have you ever heard of the phrase, you always promote the troublemaker?
I haven't, but I have now.
Which is a true phrase. I got taught that.
I think I like to get things done. So if I get asked to do something, even if it's outside of what I know, I will try my best to make it happen. And I think because I'm not from a property and construction background, it probably made it a lot easier for me at this kind of stage.
Because you didn't have all the preconceptions.
No.
Of it.
No, for me it was, okay, so what we want to do is we want to talk to everyone. We want everyone to be part of this group. How can we make a change? How can we help the sector? Oh, I know, let's all get together and have a chat. Let's do that. So
you won. So going back to Women in Fire Safety Awards 2023.
Yes.
You won it for bringing together Fire Safety Building Regulators Group.
Yes.
brackets, FSBRG, close brackets.
Well done. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm reading this off paper, everybody. And that's what you were it for. And that was effectively because you had created a conduit for people to come together. And the original thing was, of course, in response to Grenfell. But I'm assuming it's evolved into something else now.
Yes.
Which is a day-to-day sort of support network for people in your industry.
It is. It's the, people ask me lots of questions all the time about, Lisa, have you heard, have you got any further updates from the BSR? I've got a question for the fire industry. Can you approach the NFCC on this project? So there's lots of that, but it's also about forward thinking. So it was definitely set up because of what happened and to have that level playing field for building control. Mm-hmm. And now with this new process of everyone going through to become a registered building inspector, that means that everyone is on a level playing field, which is fantastic. So it's now thinking forward about, well, what about the next generation? Because going through that process for the building control industry meant that lots of people have left the industry.
Oh, some decided not,
didn't want to go through that process. I know it's going to be a challenge going forward because, unless now the July deadline's gone, you basically have to have a certain level in order to go out and check a building.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you can't do it.
So high-rise, high-risk buildings, you have to be at a different level to, say, doing...
You do, but anything that's over 18 metres has to go through the BSR anyway.
Yeah.
So that's obviously that's no longer part of what we look after. So how do you then fill that gap? How do you do that? Because, people that have been in building control for a long time have got this enormous amount of,
skills, knowledge,
experience in their head. Yeah. And actually, we want that. Well, how do you get that? So, Assent, we've got about 40-odd trainees, 40-plus trainees that we're putting through the system. And we're very, very pro on learning on the job and going down the degree route or going down the diploma route, which is what I'm doing. So, there's been lots of projects that we've been trying to do as well. So I've been into local primary schools. And it's interesting because at one of the primary schools, I turned up in a high-vis jacket for their careers day. Had a hard hat on, the boots, everything. And I just...
Surprised they didn't give you a lollipop.
Maybe. I could have done that, actually. I could have done that before I turned up. And so I just said to, the class, what do you think I am? What do you think I am? Builder.
Yeah.
And so then, I said, so have you ever heard of the term building control inspector? No. And again, it's how do people know what those roles are? What fire safety? If you talk about fire safety, people will go, firefighter. So I've been into local schools. I've been into secondary schools where I've presented to an A-level business studies class about working in building control, working in fire engineering, to women, to girls, all of that, presenting to the military with 3 other companies from the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group where, when people come out of the military, fantastic. Yeah. So they would make brilliant people in our sector. And also, if every single company in the UK, regardless of whether you're in construction or property, it doesn't matter what industry it is, if there was just more work experience.
Yes.
So when I was at school, my school organised work experience in different sectors. So you could pick. So if you wanted to go into finance and it was there. I don't know why it was there, but it was there. And I remember it gave me an inkling of what I wanted to do at that time. So we here at Assent, we do promote work experience. We know that obviously you have to have certain insurances in place and everything like that. We totally get all of that.
It's safeguarding.
Yeah, the safeguarding. You've got to be really careful with all of that. But as a parent myself, if we can all do a bit, and then the younger generation will know more about it. I know there's platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and actually the next generation building control, which I set up with a colleague a while ago, that's really popular, and that's talking to the younger end of people that are in building control, or the building police, as I call it, because that's what we do. We police the buildings and make sure they're compliant in accordance with the regulations. That's what we do.
Is that how you explain it to younger?
Well, so I think you need to be able to explain what you do in a sentence really quickly. What do you do quickly, rather than, people's eyes glaze over and then they're confused about what you actually do.
I've witnessed lots of people's eyes glaze over as they get stuck in a lift with me. Let's just go back for a second though. So you won the award for women, for Fire Safety Building Regulations Group, FSBRG.
RG, that's it.
We've just been talking about sort of attracting younger people. Now, and that's something you've set up, and is that the thing that's called Next Generation Building Control?
Yes.
And is that actually, it is a thing?
It's a group.
It's a group.
And
okay.
Like the Fire Safety Building Regulation Group, completely supported by Assent. And it's really for the younger generation. So that, maybe people that are coming into building control or fire engineering early, and maybe looking for a mentor or just want to have a chat. So we were in London, I can't remember when we met up, because it's mainly online, and then we'll meet up as well. And it's just having that space to talk about the projects that you're dealing with. Could be a few of them that are going through the degree course, they're doing the degree apprenticeship.
Okay.
So they could share those ideas.
Is there an apprenticeship? So Assent, you say you've got 40.
Yeah, 40 odd, I think it is.
And they are on apprenticeship schemes.
Yeah.
Just for my people watching.
I mean, don't quote me on it, but as far as I know, we've got 40 plus trainees that are going through the system in order to end up being a registered building inspector.
Sounds like an apprenticeship to me.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. And then obviously we've got Exact as well. Exact are part of the suite of the Assent Group as well, and they do apprenticeship courses as well. So
is that a common thing in your sector?
Yes,
for the bigger practices.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So if anyone, and what we will do is we'll put the links on as the FSBRG.
FSBRG,
so I'll link for that. So I'll do this, and Louis or Max will sort of magically make the links appear, and we'll put them in as the thing that you click on, hot links or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
They're laughing at me. They'll be laughing at me when they're and we'll do the same. Is the one for Next Generation Building?
It's all under the same one.
It's all under the same.
Yeah.
So if you're a young person, and
you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
You and I sat here now, who probably wouldn't qualify for Next Generation Building Control. We've just launched Young Leaders, and you have to be 35 or under.
Damn, I've just missed it.
Missed it by a year, haven't you, Lisa?
I won't say how many years. I wish it was a year.
We'll put them, because if young people watch this and get inspired or get interested, I think inspired sometimes.
So I'll give you a great example of how that works really well. So people reach out to me on LinkedIn. A young lady who works at a small RBCA reached out to me as a trainee, and she was in her final year doing her dissertation, and she said to me, would I mind having a discussion with her about she was talking about the building safety regulator, and that's what she was going to talk about her essay on. So I helped facilitate some Q&As for her where she could share that questionnaire. And she told me actually that she passed with flying colours, and it was just a fantastic thing for me to be able to help somebody. And she found my details from the guy who ran that company and said, why don't you speak to Lisa? I'm sure she'll be able to help you.
Wow.
And And that's the part of what I do I like.
Yeah.
That I think it's called paying it forward,
Right.
where you do things because you don't expect anything back in return.
Yeah.
I'm admitting my age now. I'm in my 50s now, so for me, it's about really enjoying the day job, but it's also about what's the other thing that I can actually do with all that experience and knowledge. And Dame Judith, I met at the BSR conference.
Yeah.
And once she had presented her part of the conference, I then caught her on the way out, and I just explained very quickly what I needed, and was probably a bit blunt, as in, it would be fantastic if you could spare the time to come on a Teams call where you have pretty much 90% of the approved inspector market, and for a Q&A session. We also have local authority building control on there, the NFCC and all of that.
Yeah.
And she said, Lisa, I would be delighted to do that.
Well, because she knows the importance of your sector within the whole design, construction and occupation process. I mean, what you guys do is hugely important. It's the checks and balances.
Yes. Yeah.
So
we're not the designers. And now, along the way, because of what's come into place, everybody has to take responsibility for their part.
And I think the answer is, in varying degrees and varying levels, everybody has.
We do. We all have a responsibility to do our part of that process.
Somebody's got to write that down at some point.
Yeah. In the last year, my cousin's son and my oldest girlfriend's boy always wanted to be work in the fire service. And, of course, they approached me because they know I have, I work in building control and fire safety. So we were having a bit of a chat, and I said, well, look, let me just do a bit of phoning around and I'll just have a chat with some people I know to find out how you can prepare. I'm sure, there are lots of guidelines on there, but let me have a few conversations, which I did. I then saw both of them individually and then did like a role play kind of environment and asked them various questions. And thankfully they both got in. But, when they left school, my cousin's lad, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do, but in his head he always wanted to be a firefighter and wasn't sure how he was going to be able to do that. So that was quite a long journey for him.
Yeah.
And he's now, I think he's working with Surrey. He's absolutely loving it. And my friend's boy, he's with Royal Berkshire, I think, or Berkshire.
Okay.
And again, if that little bit of help, it probably didn't get them the job, chatting to me, but something might have landed when they were doing their interview or whatever it was. But I shared some information that I was able to pass on from other people and help them through that kind of process, because trying to get into the fire service is really, really tough.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming, you can apply, because I think you've sort of touched on something in the sense that a lot of people say, well, I would want to do that, but I have no idea how to start or where to find it or who to talk to. And I think that's quite a common, and I don't think that's unique to, your industry or our industry or generally in construction. I think it's, across the board in many industries. I'd like to do this, but I don't know how to get into it. Is what people say. I
think another school friend of mine approached me and said, Lisa, you worked in the city for years. My son wants to be on one of these degree apprenticeships with JP Morgan, who I used to work with. And she said, have you got any ideas? And it's amazing.
Don't do it.
I was trying to sell, actually, my own industry that I'm in.
Do something else.
Yeah. Well, no, because, each to their own, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, cool.
Financial services for me for 25 years was brilliant, and I loved every minute of it. And
that's where the city was.
it was absolutely fabulous.
It was heaving on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just being on a Thursday now.
Thursday's the new Friday. You can get a seat in a restaurant anywhere on a Friday now.
You can. But yeah, so I've been really lucky. And I think going back to your point, I think there's different careers as well now. Whereas years ago, when I left school, if you went into financial services, you would be there until you retired. And I think nowadays it's much more, you can move across different careers.
Transition.
Yeah, transition.
Transition of skills.
Yeah, and it's the soft skills. Yeah. So those business development skills that I've had in my career have been so useful in communicating, listening, trying to understand who you're talking, your client, what they need, listening out for maybe that opportunity, making things happen, all of that, answering the phone, answering an email, all of those sorts of things. But your soft skills to me are so important, because your academics will get you so far, but it's how you are, your interpersonal skills, that, AI can't do that.
Women in building control, how many people are involved in that, and how does it work, and how do people reach out, and how can people get in touch?
Again, on the link.
So it's all linked to the fire
safety
building
everything.
regulations.
Yeah, it's all linked to that
Okay,
group.
so there's subgroups. The next generation building control, women in building control, are subgroups to
so that would be the best point to come in at. Okay. And actually, we need more women in those roles
in the industry.
Well, that's a great question. I know on my group there's about 10% out of the whole group that are female. And I suppose it's having that visibility, knowing that person. I mean, I was at I went to the Financial Times Festival weekend on Saturday with my husband. And
the menus on pink paper.
No, not quite. But they had all these different stands, and I went into the house and home one, and there was a panel talking about selling your house online, whereas years ago it was
bricks type.
Other
online,
online. Yeah. And I went and spoke to the panel afterwards because I found it really interesting. And one of the panel was a lady, and when I said I work in building control and fire engineering, she went, "Brilliant, a lady that works in building control and fire engineering." And I think that told me everything.
Yeah.
So we just need to promote it more.
It's like meeting a unicorn.
But, it's such a rewarding career. It's great, and it's fun, and it's interesting.
What do you think the challenges are for a woman coming into your industry compared? So I'm assuming, we talk about ex-fire service people, which predominantly are still men.
Yeah.
And I know there are women in the fire service industry, but I would imagine the percentage is probably somewhere near the 10% that you're talking about, if that. And I don't know. If you have the stats, NFCC, then please send them to us.
Well, I think they don't know about the industry. So if you don't know, it could be on your radar.
Yeah.
How would you know? So
you don't. I mean,
so you've got no idea. But once you're here, I mean, it's vast, the property and construction industry. It's huge. So I think that's the main one. And generally you find that people who land in my sector or my niche sector, because the building control is niche, I would say, it's generally because they knew somebody, or maybe it was their dad or their uncle, or maybe they were on their uni course and somebody came in and presented a bit on building control and they thought, I like that. Or maybe they think, that building police term that I use, I quite like that. As in, that part of it I really like, because I can go back to the approved documents all the time. I can follow exactly what I need to do on here. So I think it's the visibility as well. I think, the Women in Fire Safety Awards is a brilliant way of promoting that. There's loads of things out there for women. But it's not just about all women getting together and beating that drum.
I do feel quite intimidated when I'm there.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel overwhelmed. I think it's probably the thing. But I think it's I think this is the big challenge, because we're talking about industries that probably even 20 or 30 years ago were very traditionally male dominated.
But everything's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about your own parents and the jobs that they did.
Yeah.
My mum did work.
Yeah.
But not until I was 7.
Yeah.
So it's very different. The world is very different now.
The world has changed and we won't depress ourselves.
No.
We agree with each other about our respective ages, but we're both we're both in the part of our life where we probably care slightly less about what people think about us. But just in our lifetime, like you say, everything has changed, pretty much. And certainly it's accelerated over the last 10 years.
And also just that working mum, sort of juggling that.
Yeah.
All of that is definitely hard. I mean, I had 2 under 2. But it was, and if you don't want to work, that's fine too. It could be that you take a career gap, and that's another thing, career break. Who's to say that the career that you did before you had a family, you couldn't pick that up later or go into another industry and use those skills again? I think that's where we can plug gaps. A bit like me working with the cladding company.
Yeah.
The opportunity that then presented itself within the building control world probably wouldn't have faced me if I hadn't worked in cladding. So, lots of it is just those opportunities that you're then faced with that then you run with.
Yeah.
And I think, because I had worked for such a long time, and then it was like, I was made redundant. I was like, right, what am I going to do now? It's almost like, okay, I need to mould myself into what that client actually wants me to do.
Yeah. And it's that semicolon moment, isn't it? Because it's not a full stop. It's not. It wasn't.
No.
It was never the end.
No.
It was a pause. It was a breath. It was an opportunity to, look in the mirror to a certain degree and think about things that are important or not important, or things that you want to do.
But then when it happens suddenly, and it can be a shock.
Oh yeah.
And also now, there's. I feel sorry for the younger generation coming through, as in trying to get that job, trying to get any job. You hear all these, there's like 300 applicants for a job, and how do you stand out and everything like that. But to me, it's all about work experience. If you can get as much work experience when you're younger, across as many different jobs, it doesn't matter what it is.
Coffee shops,
doesn't
clothes
matter.
shops, shoe shops,
doesn't
washing
matter.
cars.
You then realise what you don't want to do.
Exactly.
You might not know what you want to do,
Yeah.
but you definitely know what you don't want to do.
Yeah. No, this is very true. Yeah. But from your point of view, why should somebody come in?
Okay, so I think now is one of the greatest times to come into the industry, because we've had all this change. So we're at a new point with the Building Safety Act in place. So lots of change has happened, so it's exciting, it's growing. Whether you are, 18 years old and you've just done your A-levels and you're thinking, do you know what, I'm not sure if I want to go to uni, I want to go out to work, but I still want a degree. I can get a degree apprenticeship and work in the building control fire safety area. I could go down that route. Or maybe you are working in a support role or administration role already in our sector and think, you know what, I understand all about initial notices. I understand all about completion certificates. I quite like to do that.
Yeah.
Don't wait for somebody to ask you to do
No.
it. Why don't you see if you can do it? And firms are, we have a shortfall. We have a shortfall in our world. Construction, will probably slow. And we've still got a few bumps to get over to make sure that we're up to the full workforce that we need. But that's across the whole sector. That's not,
I mean,
it's everywhere you look.
Every single sector are need people.
Yeah, and there's and don't think just because you're working in the property and construction industry that you've got a high-vis jacket on and you're on a construction site like I am most Fridays, up and down ladders in foundations, mirroring training with a surveyor. But you could be doing all different roles within it. We have marketing roles, we have PR, we have.
Those are those roles that do attract initially the younger person, because you could have somebody in marketing that actually says, well, actually, I want to become a building surveyor.
Exactly. And I think, I've always loved buildings. When I work in London, so I'm constantly bumping into people because I'm looking up, admiring all these buildings. I'm probably very annoying when I'm walking along. But I think it's a fun industry too. So, there's lots of events that happen. So next week we are sponsoring a golf day.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you play golf?
Well, funnily enough, I can hit it and not embarrass myself.
Yes.
But no, I don't play golf, but it is on my bucket list to make sure I do. So I'm in the beginners group next week.
Excellent.
But there's lots of events in our sector, and most people that you meet within our sector are, they're fun, and the technical aspect is there. So, sometimes I might be at an event and somebody will ask me a question. I won't know the answer to that question, but one of the team that will be with me will be able to answer that question. I will then put those two people together and they can have a chat for ages about some technical detail on a project. Again, that is brilliant. So that opens up the doors to people that are thinkers like that want to do that. So if you do want to get qualified as well, you can do all of that. It's a fantastic time to be involved in the property and construction market. It really, really is, because you'll always need somewhere to live and making a difference.
Yes.
I'm so proud of winning the award. And last year on the night, I had absolutely no idea. So my colleague at Assent nominated me for the award. So I had no idea that had happened until an email plopped into my inbox saying, you are a finalist at the Women in Fire Safety Awards. And I nearly fell over. Then, of course, we all, we had a table there and they did my category last.
Yes, which is the one we sponsor.
Yeah.
Which Georgina Fennell, who you've met, is our events exec. The only downside to obviously her presenting it is it being the last one. So of course she doesn't partake too much in the liquid refreshments prior to getting up on stage and awarding that particular way. In fact, she did say to me, "Why can't Women of the Year be first?"
But honestly,
and then do all the rest.
Funny. It was so funny because we were all there, and I think it's like the 13th category, and so I was nervous anyway, and then it got to that 13th category. But on the way, when people won an award, they then said a few words. So then I was having a heart attack thinking, what am I going to say if it is me?
Yeah.
And anyway, it was such a brilliant moment.
Yeah.
And my husband was there, and Paul was there, and John, who'd nominated me, and my colleagues from Exact and Clark Banks and the Assent Group. It was just brilliant. And to be able to celebrate that with them.
Yeah.
There was lots of dancing later on after that. And tomorrow I'm at the awards and obviously handing that baton on to the next person who's going to win Woman of the Year.
There's going to be a new Woman of the Year.
A new Woman of the Year.
What are you going to do?
I don't know, but I'm happy to support all the finalists.
It's a burden
to be honest.
You're probably happy to hand over to someone else.
Do you know what? It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Having that just title that I get teased quite a lot when I turn up at events. I go, here she is, the Woman of the Year. Let go, So there's lots of that. So and I'm so proud.
I think, in terms of what you've done, and it is all about bringing people together.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways we resolve some of the problems in our industry is improving how people can come together.
Yeah.
And to share ideas. And, we're not all going to agree at the same time. We're not always going to get on, but, in terms of our ideas and our thoughts and, what the Hackett report and the Morale Day report and the latest, Grenfell report is, creates pressure and creates pinpoints and creates debate. But the reality is, and I think we all have to admit it, that the industry had to improve. When, the things, phrases like race to the bottom and all of these sort of things. I keep saying ad nauseam, and I say it every opportunity I can. My legacy, because eventually, in years to come, somebody will be sat where I'm sat now. But my legacy, personal legacy, is to turn passive from a trade into a profession and to professionalise the pacifier industry on as many levels as we possibly can. And, I know your industry is going on that sort of journey as well to create a more formal recognition around individuals.
But there'll be other
knowledge.
I think, project managers are coming next.
Yeah.
So there's eventually it will go across the whole.
I think it will create new roles.
And it will.
It will create roles that don't exist at the moment.
Yeah, it will. And it's definitely an exciting time, but I suppose the main thing is if you know somebody in the industry and they're known to know other people and you've got a challenge or a problem, knowing where to go is gold, in my opinion.
It is.
And so you talk about your legacy, that's part of what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
That putting people in touch with other people so that then that situation progresses or gets fixed or whatever it is. And I'm very strong on whether it's an external client or somebody who works at Assent. To me, everyone you treat the same, no matter what. Everyone's a customer. Everyone, in my opinion, we should try and help.
Indeed.
If we can.
No, absolutely.
If we can.
Indeed. And I think that's and it's that level of help that that people need, because very often you've got residents groups and people like that who are very much on the outside of construction. They live or work in the buildings that, collectively we're responsible for as an industry,
And also just having that empathy, when you're talking to a homeowner.
Yeah.
Well, when they're doing an extension on their property, they've saved up a lot of money or borrowed money to do that extension.
So expensive.
They are.
All my life.
I know. But it's more having that realisation that when you're speaking to those customers that this is a really big thing for them. And actually our job in the building control world is to make sure that your building has been built, in accordance with the building regulation.
Because, of course, if they come to sell it
and you don't have your final certificate,
there's a problem.
And there's a problem and all of that. Yeah. So we are key to that process as well. And also, I think it's really important that, groups like the FSBRG, like the ASFP, we're all talking so that government are aware of, because obviously they have their job that they need to do.
But they legislate, but they're not going to do it.
No, but then we need to make sure that they're listening or understanding what's going on from the ground up.
Well, hence why I'm trying to get you and Angela Rayner together.
She was actually I think she was at UK Reef actually when I was there. I'm sure she was.
I'm sure she's an avid viewer of ASFP too. Then.
Angela, I will be emailing you actually.
Anyway. There you go, Angela. I think it's important that we do that. And I think, collaboration is another big thing. I mean, quite often people don't realise that trade associations and sort of professional bodies, they think that we just sit in these silos. But, we work collaboratively with a lot of our peers. So in finishes and interiors sector, FIA.
I know, finishes, FIS.
FIS, so FIA, Fire Industry Association, so we're passive fire, then active fire. The FPA, We work with all sorts of different groups because, I mean, the one challenge we have as a sector is passive tends to run through pretty much everything in one form or another. And then, over the last probably 5 years, our engagement with, professions like yours and architects and architectural technicians and facilities management has developed as well. And we're really happy to give that support to you guys, upstream and downstream of the sort of core of our sector.
And being part of sponsoring the awards.
Yeah.
Your award is sitting very proudly in my office.
Is there anything else while you're here, because I don't want to, if I get you back, it's going to take me another year. my people talking to your people, and your agent's your agent's a hard guy. Is there anything else you want to tell people that are watching this? What they think they should understand, or they think they should know, or they should be aware of?
If you just want to have a chat, press that link.
Yeah. Which one? This one?
Yeah, this one.
This one.
This one.
So Louis got a job now. He's going to have to try and put that.
He'll have to put it.
Top right. Top right.
Okay.
Top right. So over there. Where am I? Over there then.
I suppose just have a conversation with, everyone you know. The amount of, when my children were younger and they would have friends round, I would often ask, maybe pick on one or two kids and just say, what do your parents do?
Right.
And mostly, I don't know. So it can start from at any point. If you've got people in whatever industry it is, it doesn't matter. I'm just really keen on the younger generation understanding more about what is out there, because it is confusing. And I suppose everybody can make a difference as well. That's the other thing. Doesn't matter what your role is in whatever industry you're in, you can make a difference because you are your brand.
Yes.
I was saying this to my son last week. He's 16 and he went for a trial in a local Italian restaurant to us as a waiter. And I was driving him there for the trial and he said, Mum, what are they going to get me to do? And I said, well, I don't know at the minute, but it'll probably be, pouring drinks, maybe looking after tables. But I said, this is a trial. So what that means is they are looking at you, they're watching you. So you're not on your phone at all, even if you've got some downtime. You make sure that even if you've got nothing to do, you make yourself that you've got something to do, or you ask and you smile and you try and be the best waiter, the best barman they've ever seen. And I said, do that and see how you get on.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, he found out he got the little job. So that's, to me, that's your brand. That's how you are. So regardless of whether you work for yourself or whether you're PAYE or whatever job you have, you are your own brand. So do that to the best of your ability every minute of the day, whatever your job is.
But make sure you're doing it in the building control sector.
Ideally, for a cent.
For a cent. Brilliant. Okay. I think it's been great fun, as it was talking to you, and I'm sorry it's taken us a while to get our paths together. Well done for winning the award last year.
Thank you.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. My tuxedo is hanging up. My shoes are shined. And
same in our house. And actually on the awards, you don't know. So people sometimes say at awards, I bet you got the nod, didn't you? And absolutely no idea. It was a huge surprise and it was a wonderful surprise. So I'm very proud.
Yeah, I think it's because they have independent.
Yeah, because I'm on the judging panel actually.
For other categories.
For other categories, yeah.
We do. I think George is on, Georgina is on the panel for a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I think the judges are spread sort of far and wide.
Yeah, no, there are. I think there's quite a few judges,
there is.
Actually.
Yes. Yeah. I judge a couple of different awards. I'm still amazed that they think my opinion matters.
Well, same here.
But there you go. congratulations on, of course, winning the award.
Thank you.
I think it sets this. People were watching this after this year's awards, and we'll of course try and get your replacement in for a chat. Well done on the FSBRG. If you want to contact them, we'll put the links on this podcast. Extra well done on the next generation building control, because we're all getting older and we need the succession planning and we need the next generations to come through. And even more well done on women in building control, because that was one of my early things that I did when I came to the ASFP 5 years ago, which was to improve engagement with our members and over 50% of the talent pool of available workforce. And to qualify that, I work with a brilliant team here, and most of them are what I call powerful women. Lisa Hendricks, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You've been an absolute joy and a pleasure to talk to. And if you want to come back, we always say anyone that comes here, you're always welcome. Once you've done it once, you can do it as many times as you want.
Oh, thank you very much.
And one final question. Was it as bad as doing this as you thought it was?
It was really nerve-wracking, actually. But once I started talking to you, it got a bit easier. But yeah, you are just aware because you've got the microphones, and obviously there are key things in my mind that I want to make sure that I've got across.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. But no.
No, exactly.
No. But it's one of those things that, again, it's you've ticked something off my bucket list.
What's that?
Doing a podcast.
Doing a podcast. Yeah, you see? That monster in the wardrobe, actually, it's not there, You can open the wardrobe.
Exactly.
There ain't no monster in the wardrobe.
It's quite a big bucket list.
It is. Well, there you go. There's one more off. Just skydiving now.
Oh, no.
Lisa Hendricks, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.